Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with some more of the Great War, and we are on to week 186. No war, no peace. Trotsky's gamble. Now, before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. And also, please do go check out the gaming channel here on YouTube. Apparently, actually, they changed the requirements to get YouTube, to get monetized here on YouTube, I believe. At least when I last checked a few days ago, it looked different. It looks like I only need 500 subscribers and a certain amount of watch hours on the channel to get monetized on the gaming channel. So we're already over 225 or whatever. So almost halfway there. Pretty cool. We don't have the hours watched, but I'm certain that reaching 500, you guys of course, if you aren't going to like somewhat actively watch the channel, like tune in now and then to that channel. Don't go over there because that only hurts the channel, I believe. At least that's what I hear online. If you have subscribers that don't actually watch your stuff, you get punished for it, I guess. Even though I believe that mainly falls on YouTube's end of YouTube not showing. Dogs barking. We're gonna pause. Can't remember what I was saying before the dog started barking. But yeah, don't uh YouTube supposedly probably harms channels that if you have subscribers that don't watch, but then oh yeah, I remember. I blame YouTube for that problem though because it is YouTube that does not show people subscriptions to their page. I have been subscribed to certain people for years and then they don't show up on my and I go to the subscription box. Sometimes they don't even fucking show up. And then I'll like check out the channel because I'm like, oh man, I wonder if this person's uploaded or not. I haven't seen them. And then I'll see like 1 week ago or whatever. I'll be like, that didn't show up on my feed. Like, YouTube. Anyways, uh, yeah. I didn't think it'd be so when I'm recording this is the weekend that I didn't think I would have to record. I thought this would be the it doesn't really matter to you guys because like I upload every day so you don't miss anything. But for me, I thought the weekend that I'm recording this on would be the weekend that I have off and that it would actually be the following weekend that I would be recording this. But no, I miscounted my stockpile. I was off 1 week. So actually, I'm recording the weekend of my birthday. My birthday was Friday the 5th, December 15th. Um, so I'm recording on the 16th and 17th, and these will be uploaded the week of Christmas. This video might be uploaded. No, this one shouldn't be uploaded on Christmas, will it? No, this one will be uploaded Christmas Eve? I don't know. I think it'll be a trope talk for Christmas Day. Anyways, we're rambling here. I'm not awkward. Dive in.
Russia and Ukraine were no longer fighting the World War, or were they? They were making separate peace negotiations with the Central Powers, even as the Bolsheviks were invading Ukrainian territory. Well, one of those pieces was signed this week, and the other one
Invading Ukraine. Just a casual Russian Thursday.
blew up. And you know what it led to? Total chaos.
How many times has Russia invaded Ukraine? I feel like that conflict, Russia invading Ukraine, has to be the most like one of the most common like wars in history. Hmm. You got Britain and France fighting each other. You got France and Germany fighting each other. You got France and Spain. France and Spain. Did France and Spain really fight each other that much? They were both Catholic nations, so I don't think they really did. Well, there was a hmm. I don't know about that one, but yeah. Then you've got like uh Germany and Poland, Austria, Hungary and Poland, Russia and Poland, mm, Sweden and Well, Sweden didn't really invade it that much, a couple times. Everyone invading Poland, Russia and Ukraine. I feel like it's got to be up there, you know. Oh, you already know how
I'm
weird
Indy
this video is
Nidell.
gonna be for
Welcome
me.
to the Great War. Last week, the peace negotiations between Russia and the Central Powers were coming to an ugly head as Germany demanded huge chunks of Russian territory, while at the same time pushing for a separate peace with Ukraine that might seriously damage German ally Austria-Hungary. American troops heading to Europe drowned off the Irish coast, and there were, yet again, machinations in the British High Command.
Whoa.
At this point, that last thing is like a broken record. It continued this week. British Commander Sir Douglas Haig was summoned to London to consult about the Robertson situation, a situation we saw last week. On the 9th, Lord Derby told Haig that Chief of Staff Willie Robertson was to be replaced whether Haig liked it or not. And the military representative on the Allied Supreme War Council at Versailles, which was Henry Wilson at the moment, would direct Haig in the matter of the Inter-Allied Reserve. That military rep would also be Deputy Chief of Staff. Haig then met with Prime Minister David Lloyd George and pointed out that the council now had really wide-ranging powers and that the military rep had been given decision-making powers that should lie only with the British government. He also pointed out that only the British Army Council or Haig's British superiors had the legal authority to give him orders. Haig suggested letting Robertson and French General Ferdinand Foch work together on reserves instead of Wilson and Foch. Lloyd George had come to the same conclusion and wanted to swap Robertson and Wilson's roles as Chief of Staff and military rep. Robertson said he would serve at Versailles under Herbert Plumer, who had refused the Chief of Staff job, but not under Wilson, who he thought his junior. Lloyd George actually also suggested that Haig be Commander-in-Chief of all land forces in all theaters, which may have been a move to kick Haig upstairs from the Western Front. But Haig rejected this on the grounds that with so many changes in the command structure already being made, the British High Command in France should be left alone. It was a real mess, and it could not continue for long. Another real mess was getting worse this week. See, on the 9th, peace was signed between the Ukrainian Rada, the parliament, and the Central
Oh
Powers.
my god, we're already in February? Oh shit. Dude, we're gonna reach the end of this fucking series real fast. Oh, it's gonna be November 11th really quickly. This feels weird. It feels after over a year of doing this, and it's just, each passing week, it's only gonna become more and more clear that we're nearing the end of this long-ass series. Wow.
Ukraine promises to deliver 1 million metric tons of grain to the Central Powers by August 1st. Austria-Hungary promises autonomy to its Ruthenian, Ukrainian, minority. And crucially, Ukraine is promised the home region of Russian Poland. We saw last week what a big deal that would be if that happened. But Austria was stuck trying to please Ukraine for the grain to prevent starvation, to please its own Polish population whose support for the emperor was vital, and to please the Germans whose military would be needed to help secure Ukraine from the Bolsheviks. After the treaty was signed, mass demonstrations were held in Polish cities, and Polish auxiliaries serving with Habsburg forces even mutinied. The Poles in the Reichsrat now went into opposition and declared themselves in favor of independence. And what could Emperor Karl do against that, short of massive military repression, which was the kind of thing Karl didn't do? Thing is, this treaty also brought the situation between the Russian Bolsheviks, who are currently invading Ukraine, trying to support a Soviet government from Kharkov, and the Central Powers to a boil. They had been negotiating peace for 2 months since Russia had pulled out of the war, and this blew that out of the water. Leon Trotsky, leading the Russian delegation, walked out of the peace conference declaring it was now a state of no war, no peace, and Russia would not accept annexationist peace terms, but was also
No war, no ceasefire? Isn't that kind of like a ceasefire is?
demobilizing its army. The Central Powers now had to decide if that was enough. They decided pretty quickly that no, it was not enough.
Of
Kaiser
course.
Wilhelm announced plans for the division of European Russia. Poland would be given to the House of Württemberg, Lithuania to the House of Saxony, the rest of the Baltics to his own House of Hohenzollern, and Finland to his son Oscar. He didn't give anything to the Austrians. Wilhelm, by this point, was infuriated by Trotsky's revolutionary agitation and would be happy to see the Bolshevik government overthrown. General Max Hoffmann, the
Well,
German
maybe you shouldn't have funded them, my dude.
military rep at the conference,
Like, oh man, I'm curious. That's another good what if. What if the Germans didn't send, Lenin back? Would the revolutionaries have had the success that they have had? Or would the Bolsheviks have been stomped out? I personally believe that probably the second revolution was going to happen. No, I think I lean more towards the second with our ability of hindsight here. I think I could see a second revolution happening no matter whether or not it was through the Bolsheviks. Or the Bolsheviks may have still risen up but been squashed. But there was a lot happening here in Russia that I don't think the Bolsheviks are the one, deciding factor here in the collapse of the Russian Empire and the end of the war on the Eastern Front. I think even if Lenin had not been sent back and all that, I think there's still that central government of Russia from the February Revolution, I think would still have collapsed, probably roughly around the same time here, maybe a couple months delayed, which of course a couple months delay here for Germany could be pretty significant. But of course, these peace talks are also delaying Germany. So it depends on like if the couple months of delay of a Russian collapse brings about a peace talk that gets resolved quicker than this one. Right? That changes things too. Oh man, that's a fun what if. I'm sure someone's probably done. I'm sure Alternate History Hub has probably done it. But we've probably watched an Alternate History Hub video where he talks about that. What if Lenin hadn't been sent or whatever?
wrote of the German plans to now
Or had
resume
failed.
the war against Russia. No other way out is possible, otherwise these brutes will wipe up the Ukrainians, the Finns, and the Balts, and then quickly get together a new revolutionary army and turn the whole of Europe into a pigsty. German Foreign Minister Richard von Kuhlmann argued for just agreeing to a Russian fait accompli, claiming a new German offensive would undermine political stability.
What's funny though is that if we look at it from an idealistic scenario, we're gonna um just because we cannot say for certain, so we're gonna try and look at it as the belief system, as the system is believed to work. If all of Europe is brought under communism, now of course Russian communism is not what the communism is supposed to be, right? That is authoritarian communism, which of course is contradictory to the very idea of what communism is supposed to be, because community is anti-authoritarian, just in nature, just naturally. That those words are not meant to go together. For everyone saying that Russia, Soviet Union, Russia is communist, no, because they're not a commune. They don't operate that way. They're not communist. They're authoritarian. With whatever fucking with a state-controlled economic style, not communist. Anyways, but if you bring all of theoretically, right? If we bring everything and everyone has, because also the idea of revolution is that revolution tends to be the popular momentum. Tends to be. Make sure for idiots out there on YouTube, I am being specific in my language here. Tends to be, okay? I'm not making a definitive statement, okay? So shut your crybaby keyboard warrior mouths and hold your hands, you bitches. Revolutions tend to be the popular movement within the country. That's why they kind of happen and succeed. In the moment of their revolution, they tend to be I would say, like, in the moment of the revolution, they also tend to be the American Revolution. In the moment that it happened, was not a popular movement. That'd be an example of it not. Anyways, we're getting too down in the nitty gritty here. We're gonna make some generalized statements because we just, don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Tends to be a popular revolution, to be a popular movement. The right, we have a member of the old system here, the German emperor, being like, "Yo, revolution's gonna sweep in here if we don't control them." That's because he legitimately has a fear of the Bolshevik system and beliefs being uh, the popular movement within his own country. So that being the popular movement, that means the a wider amount of people are going to support that system, right? The reason why, the thing that would makes communism work is that semblance of community. If you do not have a community, communism is not going to work, which is why we see communism and socialist ideas tend to work in nations that are more homogenous in culture, um, and right, similar shared ancestral beliefs and things like that, because they have similar, because of the way in which they grew up, the lifestyle that they were exposed to, they have similar goals in life, which is why they tend to work on the smaller scale. Larger scale, we have yet to see it really, really work. I personally believe that it could work. It's just that we have people in positions of power that are very good at dividing the people. Um, uh, right? Like, so, yeah, that tangent.
Quartermaster General Erich Ludendorff argued that resolving the East could bring over troops to the West, and not doing so would risk abandoning Finland and Ukraine to the Bolsheviks. Kuhlmann was isolated and had to give way. Trotsky and company had been hoping for Bolshevik revolutions to break out in Berlin and Vienna, but that wasn't going to happen. Okay, in Austria in January, there had been anti-war protests. In fact, on January 14th, a government cut in bread and flour rations had provoked a huge general strike for peace. The Social Democrats had supported it and even asked the strikers to form workers' councils, Soviets. But the strike ended when government authorities met the Vienna Workers' Council, made concessions, and they returned to work. There was the naval mutiny last week at Cattaro too, but all of this showed that while the empire may be losing control of its nationalities, it could still keep its workers and army in line. There had also been those big January strikes in
And also, going back to my statement on the idea of communism and homogeneity within a governing body, um, we kind of see that, why, right? We see, like, Austria-Hungary is trying to still be an empire, but because of the way in which the world is moving, the access to information and things like that, making it easier to rebel, the easier access to weaponry and things like that, right? A gun, right? Anyone can use a fucking gun. Of course, some people, you're right, you can train to learn how to use a gun better, blah, blah, but really, someone can pick up a gun, be told, like, this thing loads it, you gotta do this to load it, to uh, activate the trigger to go boom, blah, blah, fucking gun shit. Um, that's easy to do, right? Anyone can fucking learn that. So, right, the weakness that Austria-Hungary has is all those separate people groups within the nation, because the Austrian family can't, they can't really, they lose power by incorporating the other groups. The Austrian nobility, the Austrian people lose power, and they don't want to lose power. You've been in a comfortable position of power. You don't want to fucking lose it to the people that are, they come up from a different land than you and a different culture, right? Right? You can't lose that, so you can't truthfully incorporate. So the Austro-Hungarian Empire was born to fail, unless it could equally incorporate every single person, right? And it can't do that, or well, it can't incorporate enough people, right? But the German Empire is more homogenous in its Germanness, right? And so it was more able to succeed. Um, and we see that with like the growth of the other empires as well. England first consolidated England, and then it expanded to Wales, and then to Scotland, then to Ireland, and then to Scotland. Yeah, Scotland came after Ireland, really. A lot of English landlords ruled a lot of land in Ireland for a long time. Anyways, tangent again. That really doesn't mean anything.
Germany, which were actually
Didn't
more
lead anywhere.
politicized than in Austria.
I'm just
A
talking.
workers'
I'm just
council
yapping.
elected by the strikers called for peace without annexations, democratization of the Prussian franchise, better food, and amnesty for political prisoners. This, though, was not a revolutionary socialist set of ideas, but a democratic one, which didn't make much difference because, unlike the Austrians, the Germans used force to put it down, breaking up meetings and arresting leaders, and conscripting 50,000 strikers into the army. The movement collapsed and achieved nothing, and the German working class was kept in line. And at the War Council meeting at Bad Homburg,
or so we think. Isn't it the German, like, doesn't Germany, like, kind of rebel towards the end of the war, and that's why the war ends?
the 13th, the Kaiser spoke of a worldwide conspiracy against Germany, which included the Bolsheviks, supported by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, international Jewry, and the Grand Orient Lodge of Freemasons. He made no mention of the fact that as many as 10,000 Jews and many thousands of Freemasons had already been killed fighting in the ranks of the German army. Nor did he seem to remember the details he had been given only 2 months earlier of German financial backing for the Bolsheviks, including a secret German subsidy for the Bolshevik newspaper Pravda. There were other people hoping for peace as well, far to the southeast. The Transcaucasian Federation, made up of what is now Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan, was pretty anxious to enter into peace negotiations with the Ottoman Empire as soon as possible. The Ottoman government said it was willing to do this, but would take time to get a conference organized. And stuff was already happening on the ground. Vehip Pasha, leader of the Ottoman Third Army, had already begun military action against the Armenian detachment holding the front lines as the Russians withdrew on their way home. First, he sent repeated protests against the actions of disbanded Russian soldiers and massacres of Muslims by Christian Armenian bands. In early February, Kurdish activity increased near Erzincan, mainly skirmishes with a small Armenian force there. That force was under the command of Colonel Morel, formerly Russian military attaché to Tokyo, and it consisted of the Erzincan regiment and some irregulars, around 2,000 troops. They were pretty isolated, being 160 kilometers from the nearest Armenian troops in Erzurum, and had communication lines that could be easily cut. This week on the 12th, Ottoman infantry suddenly appeared in front of the Armenian post at Chardakli and captured it. More Ottomans appeared from Kima, and by the 13th, they were 10 kilometers from Erzincan. Morel had no choice but to evacuate and retreat, and this he began to do. And a note and 2 notable deaths to end the week. American troops took offensive action for the first time on the 13th at the Butte des Menil in Champagne. American artillery batteries took part in a 6-hour barrage before a French attack. Russian General Alexei Kaledin, who had recently resigned as leader of the Cossacks, who are now fighting the Bolsheviks, committed suicide the 11th.
Oh.
1 day earlier,
Did not think suicide was going to be the way that man died.
Abdul Hamid, former Ottoman Sultan and the last Sultan to hold absolute power, had also died. And the
1842, man was old. Actually, no, he's only in his 7. Well, hold on. Quick math. 68 years old at the turn of the century. He was in his 80s. Never mind, he was old.
The week ends
Yeah, he was old.
with new action in Anatolia.
I can do math.
More confusion in the British High Command, one peace failing and another being signed, but not seeming to actually bring peace. But can anything bring peace at this point?
No.
One guy signs a peace treaty, and it causes the other signatory to resume the war with a third party. That's where we are now, in the clown car of 1918. New clowns spring up each week in Britain, in Germany, in Russia, in Austria, everywhere. but there's no one driving the
I don't know
clown
how to
car,
make a clown
and it is
noise.
totally out of control. If you'd like to learn more about the Transcaucasian region during the First
And that was No War, No Peace. Trotsky's Gamble, The Great War, week 186. Yeah, that was this week's video. Don't really got anything to add here at the end. I spoke a lot during the video, probably more than necessary. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.